Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Spring 2024 showcase, where we're giving you an inside look at what's new and what's coming soon from NextHealth. My name is Caitlin, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Hope. And we're so excited to show you everything that we're going to be going over and have so many customers joining us today. And if you're new to NextHealth, then welcome. We're so glad you're here. With our Spring 2024 release, we're announcing powerful new capabilities that help you continue providing an exceptional patient experience while preventing staff burnout and growing your practice. We're going to show you how to use these capabilities to help patients throughout 3 key steps in their journey with your practice: finding and seeing a doctor, paying the office, and coming back for a follow-up appointment. And with each step of the journey, we'll share what's new and show it to you in action with a demo. Then at the end, we'll have time for a live Q&A. So please do ask questions throughout the session in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, and we will answer as many as possible at the end. And if you missed something along the way, don't worry. We'll be sending out a recording of the full session afterwards, so you'll be getting that in your email inbox in the next 24 to 48 hours. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into our spring release. The patient journey starts well before a patient actually arrives at your office. Practices need to stand out online when patients begin to search for their provider. We'll be introducing you to several updates that will help you grab patients' attention and make it easy for them to schedule and navigate that critical time between booking and seeing the doctor. But as we all know, getting the patient in the chair is really only half the battle. Their experience with your practice isn't complete until they've paid for their treatment, which often happens after they leave the office. We'll show you how you can offer patients the fastest way to pay, which is now going to be synced directly to your practice management system ledger. And finally, you want to start that process all over again and make sure that patients are coming back to the office for follow-ups and recommended treatment plans. We're excited to introduce you to a number of updates to get more patients back in the office so you can continue improving their health and driving practice revenue. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Hope now to take us through the updates that will help patients find and schedule with your practice. Over to you, Hope.
Thanks, Caitlin. Patients are always looking for you on Google. And in fact, research has shown that more than 90% of patients are Googling practices before they commit. For that reason, we are so excited to introduce NextHealth's Reserve with Google integration. NextHealth scheduling customers are now automatically going to have a Book Online button appear in their search and maps. This means that anytime a patient is looking for a provider, your practice is going to stand out in the listings, since NextHealth is the first service to offer this integration with Google. It's also going to make it really easy for patients to book based on your real-time NextHealth availability. This is included for all NextHealth scheduling customers and is live today. Also, we have the new iOS calendar view. The first step to getting ready for an upcoming day is feeling confident about what's coming. Now you can check your schedule from anywhere, from home, on your commute, grabbing coffee on the way in, using the NextHealth app for iOS. This is available for all customers using the synchronizer, regardless of your package. And if you have communications, you'll still be able to see and respond to messages in that same app. It's also always been easy to access patients' information in NextHealth, but sometimes in the hustle and bustle of an operational practice, you don't always have time to seek that information out. So now, NextHealth is going to serve that information to you with Patient 360. You can search patients' profiles from anywhere in the platform with no extra navigation required. And on the home page, you can identify tasks that might affect a patient's appointment today, like missing forms or payment due. You can even click into the patient's profile and get a quick view of all of their activity. But if you're a visual learner like me, of course, you want to see all these new features in action. For that reason, I'd like to introduce you to our characters today. We're going to be following their journey. First, we have Catherine. Catherine just moved to Austin for a new adventure. We also have Catherine's son, Devin, who's 11, and they'll be visiting Alpine Health, where they meet with Dr. Marsha Williams. And we'll visit with Alpine's office manager, Jason. So let's take a look. Catherine and her son Devin just moved to Austin. And one night, while unwinding after dinner, Catherine remembers they still need to find a new dentist. So naturally, Catherine's going to Google dentist near me and hopes that she finds someone good. It's after hours, but the schedule button jumps out to her on Alpine Health. So she clicks into that listing and sees there are dozens of positive reviews, which of course came from the reviews template. So she decides to book an appointment. She presses book now and walks through the easy NextHealth online booking flow. Here, she can book an appointment for herself and for Devin next week after school. She can even make a note that she's been considering Invisalign. She wasn't so good with her retainers. About a week later, Jason's going to be checking his schedule for tomorrow, and he notices Catherine and Devin are booked. Logging into the health record system from home is a pain, but luckily he has that NextHealth app on his phone. He can also notice that Catherine may have messaged about something, including parking. We'll give it one moment here for our video to catch up. There we go. So it's a good thing that he checked. Now he's going to be ready for tomorrow, and Catherine's trip in is going to be much less stressful. The next morning at the office, he logs in for the day and notices that Catherine's name has an alert next to it. He can click into that and in her patient quick view, see exactly what's going on. This particular alert corresponds to something about her forms. You can see she's completed 3 out of 4 forms, which she's going to need for her appointment. But luckily, he can also see that she's just texted a question. Now he'll be able to answer that question so that when Catherine arrives at the office, she and Devin can get right in the chair. No waiting around. They're ready for their visit. So Caitlin, what happens afterward?
Thank you, Hope. Happy to see Catherine was able to easily book that appointment online, and Jason, our office manager, felt totally prepared by seeing the appointment in his iOS app and checking Catherine's information with Patient 360 and NextHealth. But once the appointment is finished and the patient has left the practice, how are we going to save office staff time in managing those payments and collections? We've heard from practices that chasing collections can eat up hours of time each month, and following up with patients about their outstanding charges can be slow and not to mention awkward. Calling patients one by one takes a really long time, and patients might not necessarily appreciate your persistence after a couple of tries. But with NextHealth Payments' new ledger sync, you'll be able to see a list of patients with open balances that are going to be pulled straight from your ledger. Then, in just a couple clicks, you can send individual or batch payment requests to the patients via text or email. You'll also have smarter automated payment reminders to keep things on track so that you can spend less time chasing those collections. Patients will also be able to easily pay via that secure link that protects their financial information, and then the payments will auto-sync to the right patient and the right procedure in the ledger. Now that's a lot of new functionality, and I'm sure you want to see how it all works together. So let's take a look. At the end of the month, Jason is reviewing his practice financials and checking on any outstanding balances. And he sees that Catherine has already paid for her initial Invisalign consult. But Jason can also see a list of other patients who haven't yet paid because their open balances are synced from his practice management system into NextHealth. And it looks like one of those patients is Devin Murphy. But Jason notices that Devin's birth year is 2013, so he likely has a guarantor since he's a minor. So for now and this purpose, Jason's not going to send that request to Devin quite yet, but we'll be coming back to him in a minute. For everyone else, Jason's going to send that batch payment request via text and email. After all, he does not have the time to call each of these patients one by one, and patients don't really like giving out their credit card information over the phone, which means that this is 3 phone calls minimum that Jason's just saved himself. Some of these patients will take advantage of the convenient text-to-pay experience and submit their payments right away. And when patients pay, those payments sync to the ledger automatically. Now, of course, if Jason wanted to manually review these payments before syncing them to the ledger, then that's totally possible too. He can do so from the needs syncing page. But Jason's happy he doesn't have to manually enter each payment into the ledger. And he's even happier to see that so many patients are paying right away. But some patients need a gentle yet persistent reminder to pay their bill. Fortunately, Jason's automated payments reminder sequence gives those patients that necessary nudge without Jason needing to lift a finger. Now let's come back to Devin. Jason wants to make sure that Catherine gets the payment request for Devin's treatment since she's his guarantor. By clicking into Devin's outstanding balance under the Review and Send button, Jason can then select Catherine as the recipient of this particular payment request. This is great for pediatric patients covered under multiple insurance plans or guarantors. Jason can also pick which procedures to request payment for. So here we see that we already have 2 procedures where we have received the claim from insurance and know how much Catherine truly owes for Devin's exam and x-rays in this case. So after making these adjustments, Jason will go and send the payment request, which will automatically include the correct amount that Catherine owes for Devin's 2 procedures. This makes it fast and super easy for Catherine to complete her payment. And when Catherine pays for Devin's treatment, that payment syncs back to the specific procedure in the practice management system ledger, which means Jason's job just got easier and Alpine Health just got paid. All right, so that was great. Just to recap, we've shown you how you can easily book online from Google and patients will actually make it to the appointment, as well as how to pay on the go from the patient phone. But the best part is those payments now sync to the ledger, eliminating hours of manual accounts receivable work. So now we're going to go back to Hope, and she's going to show us how we're helping patients come back and start that cycle again. Over to you, Hope.
Thanks, Caitlin. I am super psyched about that ledger sync in particular because I know it's been a popular request from our customers. After a patient's visit, they are hopefully following up on their regular treatments with recalls. But sometimes you might have availability that goes beyond typical care. And that's where campaigns can come in. Now, with Campaign's Audience Builder, you can create super targeted lists of your patients to send mass communications. For example, you could send a campaign just to the patients who have a particular code in their treatment plan to provide education and, of course, an opportunity for them to move forward. Or you could create a list based on their previous procedures, insurance, demographics, and so much more. But maybe the best part is that because these filters are syncing with your health record system, you don't need to wrestle with exporting the list or worrying that that contact information is out of date. The synchronizer takes care of all of that for you. Of course, then we come to actually creating the content that you want to send a patient. And NextHealth wants to help you work smarter, not harder. So we've now added an AI assistant to help you create perfectly formatted and personal messages, even including your smart commands like a booking link. Of course, you can still use messages from our library of campaigns, but this assistant is to help you build something that is truly custom to your practice with less sweat. And naturally, when you're putting in the work to contact patients, you want to see that work pay off. Now you can with enhanced campaign analytics. You'll have access to not only the metrics that marketers would expect, like your open and click rates, unsubscribes, even bounces, but also to the metrics that show the real business impact, like, for example, how many appointments were booked or whether a patient replied to your text. And for the folks who specify that they are prioritizing messaging patients across locations, we have a special treat for you. Now you can choose to see the messages from all your locations in a single feed, making it really easy for you to work through the complete list while still getting context about where they're coming from. Let's return to Alpine and see how these updates work together. A few months later, let's say Alpine has some availability, and Jason wants to fill the calendar with some unscheduled treatments. In particular, Dr. Williams said she wanted to do more Invisalign cases, so he's going to be looking for those. Instead of searching for patients in the health record system, Jason decides to use a Next Health campaign, where he can easily pull together a list from both locations instead of wrangling to export it. And he can use the intuitive filters to target the right patients right here in Next Health. So, for example, Jason could select from patients who came in for an Invisalign consultation, or say had one with another treatment, who do not have scheduled treatment in the next 6 months. If he wants to, he can even do things like specify the insurances. For example, today he wants to send this to his PPO patients because he knows PPOs tend to reimburse pretty well for Invisalign. Once Jason saves the list, he can then review these patients, and you'll notice it includes Catherine. Now it's time to actually start building the content for his campaign. But of course, we all know the pain of starting with a blank page and realizing maybe you don't have as many ideas as you thought you did when you started. Luckily, though, Jason's job just got a little bit easier because campaigns have gotten smarter. Now he has that generative AI built in here on the right. So all he needs to do is type in a few instructions about the type of content he wants to send and specifying that he wants to include their booking link. And instantly, on clicking that button, Jason's got a perfectly formatted email that's personalized for his practice and for the specific treatment. It's almost like having his own personal assistant. Now, all Jason needs to do is click send, and his patients with unscheduled Invisalign treatments will get an email encouraging them to book. You can also see the results of his email right here in NextHealth. Not only does he see those standard metrics like opens and clicks, but you'll see he can also review how many appointments were actually booked here. So Jason knows the real business impact of his work. And if patients text back, he can see their responses. Speaking of responses, let's move over into messaging. Now, Alpine has 2 locations. They have the Austin location downtown and a location outside the city. Jason typically works between these 2 locations, which means he not only has to think about having 2 different commutes, but when he's responding to messages, he often will have to toggle between messages in Excel. Sometimes that means that he might even miss messages, but not anymore. Jason can now use multi-location messaging to select both the Lakeway location where he is today and Austin to view them on this single page. In this view, although he's working at that different office, you can see Catherine from the Austin location has texted a question. Now, they get this particular question all the time, so Jason already has a saved response that's ready to answer it. Now he can get Catherine the right info in seconds. I hope you're as excited as I am to turn campaigns into a revenue machine for your practice and reduce the clicks you need to get patients in for a follow-up or just start a new conversation. So Caitlin, when can we get our hands on it?
Alrighty, thank you again, Hope. Happy to see office managers like Jason will be able to easily filter and write those campaigns super quick so the practice is able to schedule more appointments and keep that patient journey cycle going. Now, I know you're feeling excited about the updates, and we went through a lot today, and all of it's designed to save you time throughout the patient journey. So you're probably wondering what's available when. Most of the features that we talked about today are available today, including the Reserve with Google integration and the new campaigns audience builder and analytics. A few more updates are coming next month, including the Payments Ledger Sync as a premium add-on for Dentrix and Open Dental at this time. However, if you want to request early access to the Ledger Sync beta program and get started sooner, then check out the link in the chat. Finally, we'll be adding Ledger Sync support for more practice management systems later this year. We'll share a link in the chat as well about where you can sign up to get notified. We'll also be expanding practice management system support for a few of the other campaigns filters that we demoed today. And then when it comes to using the spring releases, we're here to help along the way. We have all the resources that you might need in the NextHealth Help Center. And as always, our support team is happy to answer questions and guide you to the right materials should you ever need them. Okay, Thank you so much for watching all of our updates. We're going to go ahead and move into our live Q&A now. And it looks like we already have some great questions that have been asked in the chat throughout the showcase. So thank you for engaging. We really appreciate it. And we learn a lot from all of you attendees as well along the way. So let's start with, let's see, this one that I see on campaigns. I'm going to ask this one to Hope. Where do I pull an unscheduled treatment code for a campaign, Hope?
Great question. So you're just going to go into your campaigns, and just like usual, you'll start creating a new campaign or editing one. Let's say we create a new one today for our showcase. Then you'll select the location, and that's going to open up the new audience builder. If you have Dentrix Enterprise, or Open Dental, this feature is live for you today, and you'll come into Procedure, then select With Procedure, enter your procedure code, and save. So that's going to be pulling from your patient's unscheduled treatments. Let's take a look here for another question. Caitlin, how does the new payments flow affect batch payments? This practice uses it a lot.
Oh, that is an excellent question. So glad that you asked. And I have this screen here to show you what it's going to look like. So if you are an Open Dental or Dentrix user and you'd like to use Ledger Sync, you'll be able to use this patient checkbox up here, kind of on the top left above all the patient names that we're actively reading in from your health record system. So we'll read all of those outstanding balances that we're pulling from the ledger, and then you'll be able to either select all of the patients to go ahead and send a personalized request to them, or like we did in our demo video, you can select just those ones that you know you don't want to review a little bit more detailed and send those off. So this will entirely replace that CSV export and upload process that you may currently be using with batch payments. And I'm really excited about this one because I think it's going to save all of us a lot of time and also maybe your eyes from having to stare at an Excel sheet for too long. Okay, great. So, oh, this one's good. Hope. The Google integration sounds really cool, but how do I make sure those patients actually show up? No-shows are really high for new patients.
Yes, they are. But there is one thing that we found works really well. And other practices, I'm trying to remember some of the names of them, but we have some case studies on this as well, have found that adding a payment hold into your online booking form makes a big difference. So if you have NextHealth payments now, even without the Ledger Sync, you're going to come into Settings and then go to your online booking form, then choose Customize Form, add field, and you're going to add payments. That'll require a patient to submit all of their payment information before they actually come in or even before they book their appointment. That's going to give patients a little bit more skin in the game, and it'll also help your practice if you, for example, require a cancellation fee or a no-show fee. Now you have a means to actually collect that even from a brand new patient. Let's see, it looks like we have a lot of questions coming in. Thank you guys for your engagement. Caitlin, for our next question here, how do I find a patient profile?
Love this one because it's something that you can start doing today. So Hope, since you are sharing your NextHealth account, I'll have you go up to that top left to the patient search bar. This is our global patient search. It's one of the first offerings here for Patient 360. It should be live in everybody's account as of today. You'll just search your patient here. We're looking for Andrea. And then you'll be able to pull up that patient card. So you can see all of the useful information you might need about Andrea, and you don't have to open a new tab. You don't have to backtrack. Pretty easy, and you can use that from any page within NextHealth.
Nice. And something else cool to point out here, as Caitlin said, is that it truly is any page in NextHealth. So you'll see if I go into reminders, I can still access Andrea. So anywhere you are in your flow. Let's look here for another one of our questions. How do you add the online booking button to your Google listing? Great question. So this is being automatically enabled by Google, but it's rolling out a little bit staggered. So while this is going to be rolled out over the next couple of days, you may not have it live just yet. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that if you really don't want this feature, you do have the option to turn it off, where you come into settings and you're going to go to your widgets, because this is technically publishing your online booking. To turn it off, you're just going to switch it off there. And if you want to turn it on, you'll be able to do so from here as well. Let's look for additional questions here.
Hope I'm seeing a couple questions about the Ledger Sync being available for Dentrix Enterprise or Dentrix Ascend. Right now, Ledger Sync will be fully available by the end of April for just standard Dentrix users. That being said, we are planning to roll out support for a variety of other practice management systems, so we may just have yours ready to showcase in our summer release showcase. So be sure to keep an eye out, and we will also be sending out plenty of communications and letting you know when it's something that you may be able to take advantage of. So thank you for checking.
The next question here I would like to answer live, and it's someone asking a campaigns question. They'd like to see a campaign made for female patients born between 1985 and 1969. So what we'll do is we'll come in here and we're going to create our patients. So we'll just do female patients, 85, 69. We're going to create our list and go into demographic info. You can choose your custom age range here. Now, I am not great at math in my head, so I'm just going to enter a random age here. We'll say we want older women from 55 to 100. You can select female only and save, and then we'll be able to pull our list accordingly.
All right. Thank you, Hope. I also see one that I will answer as well. Is there a way to attach a document or show an account ledger so that patients know what they're paying for? We find the biggest hurdle to getting patients to pay with a link is for them to be able to confirm what they're paying for. Great question, and I love this question because it's probably something I would ask too. So we are working on statement generation for patients, and this will be coming as part of our summer release, most likely. We will be sure to let everyone know when that's ready, but I do want to assure everyone that is on the roadmap, and we're planning to continue making investments in payments and in Ledger Sync. So keep an eye out for that too. And if patients do have questions about a text payment request that they receive, they can also always text the office, and you can respond to them from messages, you can respond to them from your iOS app, or you can also respond across multiple locations at once with the new multi-location messaging if you are a multi-location practice.
We're approaching the end of our time here, so I'm going to answer one last question live before we follow up with everybody individually. This question is related to the Google online booking integration. They ask, if you already have an appointment link on Google in NextHealth, will this create an issue? It will not. It would potentially create a duplicate if you have like the link, and then this is going to create the Book Now button. That's just more access points for patients. It's up to you if you'd like to take the old booking link down, but it's not going to create any issues for you. With that, Caitlin, can we just do one last review on where everybody can find resources following this webinar and how we plan to reach out to everybody?
We sure can. We've updated our help center to include an entire What's New section with everything we've talked about today from the spring release. Highly recommend checking that out so that you can fix any problems or answer any questions ahead of time. But of course, our support team is always here. We're also going to be sending out today's recording, and that will be coming into your email inboxes in about 24 to 48 hours. That will also have some links to the resources in the Help Center online, so be sure to check your email in the next couple days. And overall, Hope and I just really appreciate everybody's engagement and your attendance. We love these sessions, and we love being able to show you what's new, and we care deeply about our customers. So thank you for your time, and we hope everyone has a great rest of your week.
Thank you all.